Okay, and I believe we have Germinal on with us. Germinal, are you on? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Excellent. So I think that Colin's working to bring us up on video.
Yep. Do you have your camera on, Germinal?
Give me 1 sec.
Cool. Once we do that, I will hide my face.
Yeah.
Perfect. And
Can you guys see me?
yes, I can.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
And we're going to give Colin a little bit of a break. He has been a rock star serving as our moderator and host for all of these amazing women. We wanted to be mindful that in any of our speaker interactions, we had both a woman and a male ally, if there was a male ally. So, Colin, you can take a break, my friend.
I'm going on mute and grabbing a sandwich real quick. You guys do your thing.
So, Germinal, thanks again for joining us today. I have been a fan following you on Facebook. So would love to start off with, a little bit about you. You are an academic.
Yes.
You are a thought leader in terms of economic policy. So why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. So first of all, thank you, Lauren, for inviting me on this wonderful platform. My name is Germinal Gerard Van. That's what the G in the middle stands for. I'm originally from the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, which is a French-speaking country in West Africa. That's why I have a thick accent, as you could hear.
I love it.
And thank you. And French is my first language. And I moved to the United States over 10 years ago. On Monday, it was officially 10 years ago since I've been here. Thank you. I came with a student visa initially. I studied political science at the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. Then I pursued my master's degree at the George Washington University, also in Washington, D.C., in the same field in politics. And then I tried to go to law school. It didn't work out for some reason. I guess the language barrier was also one factor. And so I decided to write. And that's when I started endeavoring myself into the academic life. So I became a writer and author, started writing about politics, economics, even legal theory at first. And then when I start reading about Ludwig von Mises, Hayek, that's when I got mainly into the liberty movement and became more of a libertarian, because I used to be a Republican, but I was dissatisfied with the way politics has become. It has been focusing more on the pathos rather than the logos, and I'm more of a logos guy. And now it's like very tribalistic. It's either you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. You can no longer be your own person. And I'm a free thinker, and I don't have to abide by a specific political leader to feel myself.
Yes.
So that's why I began to become more engaged with libertarian ideas. But I was involved in politics for a little bit, but then I withdrew, because to me it's more like it's a little emotional, and I rather deal with ideas, So I think like becoming more of a scientist, more of a academic, a scholar,
yes,
helps me to do my job better rather than interacting with people, and then you have to please the emotions or not. I mean, I listened to what Patty Politics said a little bit, and she was right when she talked about the internet, like the fame you get, sure, but at the same time, you can no longer be yourself because you won't
yes.
the base. So as an academic who is using specifically empiricism as his tool to make his argument, I'm not here to please anybody. I'm just stating the facts.
The facts, exactly.
People have to deal with the facts the way they are. I'm not here to cherry pick which facts goes along with my narrative or my agenda. I take all the facts for what they are, and then I try to be nuanced, and that's what I actually learned. And lastly, I'm currently doing a certificate online through Duke University in statistics. And because I've been involved in econometrics a lot.
Yes.
So, and what I learned doing econometrics and statistics is that it humbles you in terms of the fact that you cannot be biased, because when you deal with statistics, you have to take everything into account and do things for what they are instead of trying to fit your agenda. So that's what I've been working with before, and yeah, that's a little bit my story.
Well, and I thought that this was especially timely, having you come on after Patty and after some of the wonderful ladies who have spoken really from the heart and from their emotional perspective. I think we need to see both sides of, the issue here when we think about women's equality. And there's very definitely an economic impact. And as you said, numbers don't lie. And so when we think about the economic impact of women's equality, women in the workforce, and how we drive GDP and how we help to shift those stats, the statistics, as you said, that numbers don't lie.
No,
and we spoke earlier with Larry Sharp about, the return on investment if you're making an investment in women-owned businesses. So, Germinal, I would love for you to share, from your academic perspective, about the economics and the numbers when it comes to women and equality and those issues that we're fighting for that can be emotional, but that have facts and figures to back that up.
Yeah, so I don't have all the numbers in my head, but from what we all know, right? Women contribute a lot to the economy, and it's not just in the United States, but everywhere else. Let's do a little bit of history. Back in the 19th century, especially in African societies, women was actually the one going to work. Let me give an analogy to the lion clans. The lioness is the one going, chasing the prey and bring the food home while the male is sleeping all day long. That has been the same too, especially in African societies. The point I'm trying to say is that women, in fact, work twice as hard as men, but not compensated enough for the work they do. So this is indeed a fact. And people have always used also marriage in the 19th century as a way to demean women to some extent, because in the 19th century, marriage was more of a contract to acquire private property. It wasn't about romantic love or anything. So that's how. So a woman in the marriage, in fact, did not have rights. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't even get a job, although she had the skills to do it. She couldn't get a job. She couldn't divorce if she felt like she wasn't happy in the marriage. The man had to decide for everything. So there was a tremendous progress that has been done nonetheless throughout the 20th century, when we, first of all, in 1920, when we gave the right to women to vote, and then we gave the right to women to actually be more active in the labor force. So women have done considerable progress. Nonetheless, there is still discrimination. Now we have to assess that discrimination on case-to-case basis. We can't say it's all over, because if we have to distinguish between the private sector and the public sector. I must admit that when we look at the numbers in the public sector, women have more opportunities to get in the labor force, in fact. However, which is funny, is that in the public sector, they don't give maternity leave. What I mean by maternity leave, that they may give you, but they will not compensate you during the maternity leave. In the private sector, you have that ability. But the bad thing about the private sector, the bad thing about private property is that if you have the right to property, you have the right to discriminate. So the guy who is hiring whoever he wants to hire gets to discriminate how he wants to pay people. And that's where the real problem is for women in terms of gender equality in the labor force.
Let's talk about that, a little bit. And I appreciate the distinction between the public and the private sector and the different opportunities available there. And I think you're very savvy to note the difference. When we think about the private sector and opportunities for women, I think this is where some of the discourse within the libertarian movement or the liberty movement kind of can get into some disjoint. We, those in the libertarian movement, don't believe that the government should be establishing a minimum wage. And a lot of people are concerned about that, oh, well, then people aren't going to be compensated fairly. So, Germinal, when we think about compensation for women and the application of the free market, what are your thoughts?
So, it's a very nuanced question, in fact. The reason why I say nuance is because today, the left is promoting women's right to fair compensation and stuff, but they don't do it the right way. What do I mean? You do not want to also compensate someone just because of that person's gender. Skills matters. You must compensate someone because of that person's ability to get the job done in a given period of time. If you compensate someone just because she's a woman, might as well compensate me just because I'm Black. So you see what I mean? Like, no, we want someone who can get the job done, because do never forget that the person who is hiring you, is taking his own resources to compensate you. It doesn't take the taxpayers' money to compensate you, it's his own money. So you have to make his money worth paying you for the job. So, and then of course, there are some companies also in the private sector who do not like compensate adequately the women who work for the companies. Mm-hmm. And
when I think about that, I think about our ability to use our voice with our vote.
Yeah.
And I think about our ability to make choices where we take our talent. As a woman, and I have a number of graduate degrees and great experience under my belt, I can be very picky about where I go to work. Now, when you're in a down economy, that's a little bit different. And we're facing an economic downturn. What I'm concerned about is how this new economic downturn may negatively impact women more so than men.
Okay, so the thing with what is currently going, everything depends in which sector you're working on.
Sure.
Or in which sector you're working in.
Yes.
If you're more like into COVID could be in fact an opportunity. Why I'm saying that is because everything is now being shifted online. And that's what's going to happen, in fact. By the end of this decade, a lot of jobs will disappear. Most jobs will now be online. It will be pretty much tech savvy. So the first change that has to happen when it comes to women to actually increase the contribution in the labor market or in the workforce is to study hard sciences. And there's not enough women in hard science. Most women are in humanities, they're in marketing and all these disciplines. But hard science is where the world is going. Today, every decision is data-driven based. Mm-hmm. Like, we all make decisions on data. And we need analysts, we need statisticians, we need data scientists to actually make those things. And I've been looking at the statistics. Those jobs are growing enormously. Like, today, let me tell you this. Today, someone who is simply taking a course on crucial, like my case, you're studying statistics, and you do not have a background in statistics before. You're studying that and you finish that course, you have like a 33% chance to actually start a new career in statistics and data science. So it is important for more women to get involved in science, because science doesn't lie. Science is objective. As we know, 1 + 1 = 2. It's not because you're women that 1 + 1 is going to equal something else. Whether you're men or women, 1 + 1 = 2. So we know that it's objective. I've seen that, for instance, most women who are actually involved in science get recognition. Let me give you one example. Marie Curie. Marie Curie won the Nobel Prize twice. And she won at a time where women did not even have the right to vote.
Yes, I love that you brought that up historically.
Yes.
In the sciences, where her evidence could not be refuted.
Exactly. She won at a time, she won in 1903, she won in 1911. Women at the time.
No right to vote. Yes. Germinal, did we lose you?
Oh, can you see me?
Oh, okay. Yes, it seems like you're
Hello?
back. Okay. Can you hear me?
Cool. So I was saying, like, how come the committee of men, all men, there was no women in the Nobel Committee, they decide to give that prize, the most coveted prize in the world, to a woman twice. That's what actually shocks it. Twice, in a time when women didn't have the right to vote. It's because she demonstrated her skills in science, and they cannot be refuted. That's why. So, in my opinion, I believe that more women should be involved in the science, but not just science. I mean, of course, everybody cannot go into science too. At the end of the day, let's be realistic. Not everyone has the brain and the intellectual stamina to get into science. But for the women who have a strong inclination into science, that's the way to actually demonstrate the real value, because science doesn't lie.
This is interesting, and it's a great juxtaposition to the conversation, again, that we had earlier with Larry. We discussed removing barriers to empower women to make choices. And he used the STEM argument as well. He said there is a call for more careers in STEM and science, technology, and those fields. But from the libertarian point of view, it's not that you should go into this or you have to go into this. It's removing the barriers so that's available to you. Creating access, removing barriers that women who want to pursue careers in high demand fields, as you said, high demand, that's an opportunity available for them. So again, I love how we're getting a good point.
Yeah, no, so sorry, it wasn't to interfere. Well, what I wanted to say was that something that is high demand means that there is a set of skills that need to be exhibited.
Correct.
You're not going to get into a field that is highly demanded if you don't have a set of skills. The reason why we say high demand is because not everyone can get in there, but those who get in there, you know what I mean? Like,
supply and demand. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, there's a high demand and a lower supply.
Exactly. So that's why it is. So for women to get into high demand fields, they need, in my opinion, they should invest more into STEMs, whether it's engineering, mathematics, statistics, data science, physics, chemistry, all this. I know it is hard. I can give you my own example. Although I'm not a woman, I have a literary background. As you know, I studied politics. Mm-hmm. Politics is a social science.
Yes.
But as I've been looking at like the Nobel Prize and why people have been winning it and what are the discoveries they made, that's when my appetite for empiricism and science triggered. And now I've literally been studying math on my own. The last time I did math officially was 10 years ago in high school. I graduated college about like 6 years. And it's this year I put myself back into the math. I put myself back into statistics, and I'm doing all of that. And I'm looking at all jobs around on top of the work I do as an academic. I also want to work as an analyst for whatever firm, because that's where the world is heading.
Speaking of, your academic engagements, tell us a little bit about the work that you do at the Mises Institute.
So yes, for the Mises Institute, I'm a contributing writer. I write once in a while. I submit columns to the Mises Institute, and I focus more my work on Africa because at the end of the day, I think there are many ways to help your community. Many people think that it's always by getting to the political realm that you will necessarily bring change, but it's not just the political realm. The political realm is one way. But I think writings are everlasting, and that's why I'm into that, because you may write something today, people may not appreciate what you wrote today, but since they're everlasting, tomorrow or in 50 years, or the kids, the grandkids, they will come across the writings. If you look at all the people who changed the world, in fact, they changed the world through their writings. Look at Adam Smith. He wrote The Wealth of Nations. The guy is dead for the past, I don't know, 200 years, 300 years, and we're still reading him. Nobody, he wrote the greatest book in economics of all times. Even look at Karl Marx. We don't like him, but we have to give him credit for, I mean, it's true, we have to give him credit for changing the world. I mean, he wrote the Communist Manifesto and Capital. He never held public office. So that's what I do with the Mises Institute. I know the Mises Institute has a great audience. There are many people, not just in America, but also in Africa and South America, that follow the Mises Institute, and they come across my writings a lot, and they text me on Instagram and Facebook and say, hey, I wrote your piece, and honestly, it was well written. I learned a lot, and I mean, it's good. It's good. So I'm glad that I'm bringing my contribution to the Mises Institute, and I intend to keep doing so.
Well, and I love that we've talked about a few things that really speak to opportunities for women.
Yeah.
You know, pursuing jobs in high demand fields. Absolutely, where women have the opportunity to make large contributions. And I love that you shared that about writing as well, like recognizing the power of your voice, the power of your thought leadership, and how writing, in whatever form it may be, in your case, you're likely writing white papers for academic articles. You're pursuing columns for the Institute.
Yeah.
You've written, what, 14 books now? 14 books. So
actually, yes, 14. There is the 15 coming.
Yes, tell us about.
There's a 15 book. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's I think writing is a very powerful voice. There are many women, for instance, who have the ability to write, and this is for women who, for instance, are not into STEMs. If they want to write, they should do it. Writing is a great way to get not just the word out there, but to get your thoughts and to express your voice. And it's, as I said, writing should be an investment. It's an everlasting tool. That's a good thing about writing. Once you produce something, even after you're long gone, it's still here and people will read it. So it's just that the thing with writing is that you have to be patient, because it's something that doesn't pay off immediately.
Well, and you know, I love that this really plays into our call with People for Liberty. We're calling for bloggers right now. We want to elevate people's voices. We want to get their writing in front of an audience. And your experience as a writer and as a thought leader helps us to frame that opportunity for women and for others who might also want to share their thought leadership.
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. Yeah, it's I think, yeah, like this is one venue that women should highly invest themselves in, like writing. And the good thing is, you know, today with technology, you can get the work out there without necessarily going through a publishing house. With Amazon now, you can publish your own book. I mean, if you have like editors, you have friends that can edit your book and stuff, it's good. But the most important is to get the word out there. Like you can use Amazon, you publish your book in 24, 48 hours, the book is produced and you have that there and you do the marketing and, you know, you tell people about what you wrote and whoever is interested will buy it, whoever is not interested won't, but eventually it will pick up. So it's important, especially in this world we're living, where there is like high social tensions, It's important for women to talk about their experience through writings.
Yes, I love that. And Germinal, I think that's a wonderful kind of way to wrap up our discussion together about opportunities for women, the economic impact, how the numbers don't lie.
Yep.
And if women want to make a larger impact in our world, that they have paths available to them, those high demand jobs, and then sharing their experiences in writing.
Yes.
If you had to give, any takeaway message to women who might be listening, what would your takeaway message be?
I will tell women to believe in their skills, to invest in their skills, because skills is what will set you free, in fact. When you're skilled into something, you're technically independent. You don't need to rely on someone else, because the skill you have, you can reproduce it indefinitely. So it's important to focus on one skill and then put that skill for use to anyone who wants it. And once again, I repeat, the reason why I believe that women should get into science is because science is a very analytical realm. So when you have scientific skills, even the most misogynistic people will still want you to work.
Yeah, they can't argue. They can't argue with facts.
It's like, okay, we don't like you, but we want your skills. We pay you for your skills. So it's important for women to, if they have a craft they're good at, work at it to make themselves better at it. And with COVID that is going on right now, like especially that people are working from home, so it's the time, in fact, to learn new things through the internet. So I think for women to truly distinguish themselves is to focus on their skills. Because,
I love that.
Yeah, once you're skilled, no one can argue that.
I love that. And Germinal, tell people where and how to find you. If they're interested in more about your writing, more about you, where can they go to find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook and I am on Instagram and LinkedIn. So these are the three major social platforms that I'm using to express my ideas and myself.
And before we go, tell me, what is your thought about the Let Her Speak movement? Have you been following?
The what?
The Let Her Speak movement.
No, honestly, I've been so immersed in my work. I genuinely lost track with what's going on. I mean, I go on social media and see a little bit what's going on, but not in depth, so I can't really speak on that. If you can enlighten me real quick, that would be cool.
Yes. So one of the reasons the name of our event this day, it's well past morning, was Let Her Speak, was a group of grassroots volunteers came together to recognize that Jo Jorgensen, the Libertarian candidate for president, was going to be excluded from the national debates. So Let Her Speak is a movement calling for the inclusion of third-party candidates. And you'll appreciate this because it's based on facts. They looked at the number of votes that would be necessary for a candidate to achieve ballot access or be considered viable. And they said, if a candidate is able to get on the ballot in 50 states, they should, because of the facts that you can't argue with, be allowed to debate.
And plus, I'm going to even add something on that, is that if you truly believe in the free market, this free market doesn't just apply to economics, it also applies to politics. You have to decentralize the political system. You have to decentralize the political market. We cannot still have that where two huge corporations are dominating the entire market and other parties cannot express themselves.
Yes.
So to me, Jo Jorgensen should say that if the Republicans and the Democrats claim to believe in the free market, they should free up the political market as well. Definitely.
Amen. That's a great note to end on. Germinal, thank you again for joining us. We're excited to encourage women to pursue their skills, to make investments in their skills, to pursue their writing that will be their long-term legacy, and explore those high-demand fields. So thank you again.
No problem, Lauren. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.